Hey everyone, it's me, Speed Force Legends, and sorry for the delay. I had stuff going on, and I decided to take a break from doing videos, but now I'm going to be doing my ranking on all 7 seasons of The Flash from worst to best. Now, keep in mind, this is only my opinion. I'll respect yours if you respect mine. For example, if I say something like Season 1 is the worst or Season 7 is the best, which that would be completely unrealistic. Don't judge me, but if you happen to be one of those people, explain to me why. But I'm not going to hate you for it. I know some seasons you're going to be shocked on what is so low or what is so high, but like Cody Leach says, opinions are like assholes, but it doesn't mean you have to be one. And now that we have a new season of The Flash all wrapped up, I figure we do this. Not only that, but also, since last year when I ranked all of the first 6 seasons, I have changed my opinions on them drastically, at least some of them. So, with that out of the way, let's get to this. Coming in at last place is Season 7. For most people, it's kind of obvious when compared to some of the other ones. It has actually all of them. It has the worst structure and the worst season-long story arc, since I'll give credit where it's due, where it at least gave graphic novel number 2 a good finale, and then there were some enjoyable moments about graphic novel number 3, and of course graphic novel number 4 was great, and I'll talk more on that in my ranking for them. And Godspeed was a great villain, the best we've had since Bloodwork. And that's kind of all I have to say, really. Other than that, the season kind of sucked, mainly in the first half when, I must admit, I did think it was great, because Force's storyline I loved from the comics, but then it just becomes so over the top when Barry calls the other Forces his children, and then the whole dad, brother, sister feels so out of place. And then it has some of the worst cliches that The Flash has been going on for, I think, 3 seasons now, if I remember correctly. Like, talking villains down, and that's how you defeat them. Barry is, like, his most powerful. It should be a lot more simple than that. It started with Cicada in Season 5, then Mirror Monarch here, and then the Speed Force when Dion gave her a vision of a possible future. Then Rainbow Rider 2. And then the Chillblaine storyline. He has to be the worst villain on the show. And don't even get me started on that breakdance scene. But even after that, it's damaged the season so much where not only is it the worst even for that time, but not even graphic novel number 4 could save it from being the worst season, because it was only 4 episodes when it could simply just be 7. And you can argue, yes, there was 1 episode missing in a graphic novel back in season 6. But in this case, why does season 6 get a pass and not this season? It's because graphic novel number 1 was building up to the Crisis on Infinite Earths crossover episode. And then graphic novel number 2 was dealing with the consequences of it. While here in season 7, after the Speed Force arc, and they were just filler episodes, straight up filler, and have no tie-ins to either of the storylines whatsoever. And you can argue that, yes, there are still some campy moments, like the lightsaber fight and the shurikens, but I didn't really mind that. That still felt like accurate speedster powers to me, and I thought it was cool. If you didn't like it, that's your problem, but I didn't mind it. And they just had almost a year to improve. There's honestly way too much to say here. So, if graphic novel number 4 was longer, then I could have had the season just a little bit higher. But for now, it's in last place. Coming in at number 6 is season 4. Now, I know that last time I put this in my top 5. Normally people put this in their top 4, but it is what it is. For me, this was the beginning of the end for The Flash, since this is where the show started going downhill. And as bad as the first half of season 7 was, this has some other aspects that age the worst out of all these seasons. Like, the storyline looks good on paper, but eventually it just got dragged out and constantly. I did not like how the Thinker was constantly body swapping, and it got so repetitive where he was taking over women's bodies and did not feel right. I mainly only liked him when he was played by Neil Sandilands. And I also did not like some of the humor that was used. It was a little campy for me, but still, at least not as over the top as it got in season 7.
But what really makes it worse than everything above it is I did not like the feminist theme episodes. For those of you who don't know, I really don't like Batwoman just for feminism, racial politics, lesbianism, etc. Not saying this show's ever had any of that, but I mean, it's far from as bad. Although, I just really hate it when it's like that. And I'm like, yes, I get it, women are cool. You don't need to constantly give them superpowers. Like, Iris is a speedster. Cecile can read minds only because she's pregnant. And Daniel West, oh, well, he's female now. And that's another good example. Oh yeah, the girls' night out. Was not a fan of that. And thought it was awkward when Felicity was telling Norvok to take it off, and then his eye drops, and then she says, I meant to say her pants, not your eye. What? And there was just other bad moments this season. I mean, it did have good episodes here and there, but other than that, it barely stood out for me. I mean, the Enter Flash Time episode was cool, I'll give you that. I mean, I prefer some of the other episodes in other seasons better, but I do agree that it's easily one of the better seasons of the show. I mean, episodes. And obviously, Barry's suit is by far the best. Seasons 6 and 7 may have the most comic book accurate, but here it just looks really cool either way, and is a combination of every suit we've had. I don't know why they didn't keep this one, and we should get it in the final season, which I predict to be season 10, although people are saying it's going to be season 8 because of all the backlash season 7 has been getting, but that's a different topic for a different time. And even Eric Wallace confirmed that's not true, but anyway. And like I said, did not like the feminism episodes that they put in, because this is The Flash, not Supergirl, which I've watched very little of that show because I've heard a lot of negative things about it. I mean, I'll still watch season 1 after Superman and Lois is over, see how it turns out, but anyway, this is about the Flash. It still had great moments though, and DeVoe was still a really good villain. His motivation was interesting, and also clever how this season at least tried to do something new with their main antagonist after people got tired of speedsters in the first 3 seasons. Although there is one villain though who has been great in Not a Speedster, Bloodwork. So please don't think I'm a toxic fan and that I only prefer speedsters as villains. It doesn't work like that. That's not why I love the show. And yeah. So number 6, season 4 for me. Coming in at the top 5 is season 5. Now, last time I thought this was one of the better seasons of The Flash and that this was a great season. And it was in my top 4. And for most people, it's in their top 6. But, wow, my thoughts on this season really have changed. And that's mainly for a few reasons. One, just I did not like Cicada 2 at all. She felt so unnecessary and taking away from what made her uncle a good villain at the beginning of the season, which, if you don't like Cicada, even Orland Dwyer, that's fine, but I'm just speaking my mind. And then she felt overshadowed by Reverse Flash, who was not even the main villain for this season, although his storyline here was still really good. And Nora, I will admit, is kind of annoying. She was still a fun character, but I just did not like the character motivation they set up with Barry and Iris, and Nora too, where once she finds out that Thawne killed her grandmother, she still works with him, and then when Barry finds out about that, he sends her to the future, and then Iris gets mad for some reason, and is defending the man who killed her mother-in-law, along with even lying about the whole Red Death thing, which, for those of you who've watched my channel since the beginning, you know that I still have PTSD from that. And that's kind of more of a Season 6 problem, but here, though, I kind of find more reason to nitpick here, like, why mention him at all, then? And Easter egg is a stupid excuse, but other than that, there's not much else that's wrong with the season. The storyline is still great. Cicada is a better villain than people say he is, and the Reverse Flash storyline was really good here. But that's kind of all I have to say. Coming in at the top 4 is Season 6. Now, for those of you who know that back in my earlier videos, I always used to find reasons to bash on this season, and most of it was because of the second half, before we actually got a good ending to it. Although, other than that, now, after that, I mean, back then it was the worst season for me, and for most people, it's in the top 3, but now my thoughts have changed over time, because after Season 7, it's really not as bad as I remembered it being, and even compared to Seasons 4 and 5 as well, I'd say it would deserve this spot. Not only that, but unlike everything below it, it's still consistent. Even Season 3 kind of fails at that. And what I mean by that is Season 1 is what started the show, so you can't call that season unoriginal. Season 2 introduced the multiverse and had the Earth 2 storyline, which is not only still impact here in the show later on, but also in the entire Arrowverse as well. And this season, it was the first graphic novel approach with Crisis on Infinite Earths, best crossover. And Bloodwork was a really great villain here. And graphic novel number 2 even was better than I remembered it being, with some of the episodes, like the Thawne episode, the Grodd episode, etc. So, I definitely appreciate this more because of that. However, my problems, of course, why gender swap Mirror Master and make it a villain that we've already had from season 3, when it seemed clear you were going to set up a villain that was going to be way better, which is why I did my Red Death voice impression. Shout out to Ultra Edits if you're watching this. And it still even breaks my heart knowing there are people still begging for that, and normally I'd be one of them, but I gave up before this new season that we got started because of it. Although, I don't really want to talk about CW issues right now, even though this is the CW. And the second half for the storyline really dragged out. And Mirror Iris is so annoying. Barry is an idiot in the second half, since how would he know after a few months that it's Iris? Well, to figure out if it's not her. Because, one, they're married, so he would expect it a lot sooner. 2, he's a CSI, so he would take way sooner to figure it out than an average person. And 3, he's the Flash, aka the Impossible. How would he not understand that? And then so many things I kept trying to look forward to that never made it until a year later. And I mean, back last year I was super pissed about that, but now that it's all over, I can finally rest and worry about other things, like bad dialogue with, "Oh, you're half my age, but I can call you my dad." Well, I'm just surprised that the second half, for the longest time, was the worst season-long story arc until the next graphic novel, where it's like, hold my beer. So, because of the first half, it's better than everything below it, but because of the second half, and how it's actually worse than seasons 4 and 5, and especially the second half of season 7, it's not in the great quality of the first 3 seasons, and that's why it's right here, along with its consistency. So, a lot to explain, but it is what it is. Coming in at the top 3 is season 3. Now, from here on up, these are all ones that I consider to be great seasons. Everything below it is entertaining at best. Well, all of it's still enjoyable, but I mean, half good at best. You know the rest. And back last year, this used to be my second favorite, but for most people, they put it in their bottom 3, which I really don't understand why. I mean, if you like season 4, good for you, but how do you say that this is any worse than the newer seasons? If you think season 6, that's fair, but why the other ones, though? Tell me. I mean, Savitar is an incredibly underrated villain. Like, I even made a video defending him. Go check that out, why Savitar is actually a good villain. And I really like the dark tone here. I don't get why people are saying that it's like Arrow more than the Flash. It's not. It still feels like the Flash. Of course it's went dark. You're the same people who like season 2, And that's a tone that's, like, just as dark. I don't get it. And I actually am not that bad on Flashpoint because it still stick to the source material and felt accurate. And not only that, but it even dealt with the consequences of it for the rest of the season. And that's kind of all that matters, at least the first half. And I liked so much from this back when these main villains had a way more personal connection to Barry, but now it just feels like they're only there because they're evil, want to take over the world and or kill everybody or whatever their sick motivation is. Not saying they're bad, in fact, they're good, if not great, actually. But, I mean, when it comes to what makes them compelling villains for Barry's story, you see what I mean? I mean, I'll talk more on that in villains ranking, but Season 3 is just a really good season, and definitely not the downhill spot of where people say it is. And especially it's weird how everybody wanted it to end with speedsters because it got repetitive. And then all of a sudden, in Season 4, they wanted speedsters back. Like, make up your mind. And that's kind of all I have to say. Season 3 is great and one of the better seasons of The Flash. Coming in at the top 2 is Season 1. Now, I can easily understand why most people say this is first place. I don't blame them. I mean, this is what started it all. Obviously, last time I put this in my top 3, but that's only because Season 3 had more enjoyment, but Season 1 had a lot more memorable moments, even more so than Season 2. And Reverse Flash is an incredible villain. Not saying Savitar isn't, but anyway. And then, back what I said earlier, this is a consistent season where it's what started it all, and Season 2 introduced the multiverse, and Season 6 was the first graphic novel approach. But, I mean, it has so many good things about it. Captain Cold, Gorilla Grodd, the Trickster, Weather Wizard, all of the memorable moments you know, even the Harrison Wells reveal scene. And this was really back in the Arrowverse of its glory days. And as much as I loved Season 2, which you'll definitely hear me talk about here, this was back when the Arrowverse was perfect, with the first 3 seasons of Arrow and this, before it started going downhill in the next batch of seasons. I mean, yes, obviously the Flash Season 2 was good, but the other Arrowverse seasons, not so much. Although, I'm definitely going to make videos on them, don't worry, eventually, but I have to finish them off first. So, yeah, that's all I got to say. I really can't even say more. It's just so good, masterpiece of a season. And it's not that much worse than its sequel. coming in at first place, you can all already tell by now, Season 2, and yes, it has not changed. Normally people put this in their top 2. I can understand that if you like Season 1 more, but this was the first season of The Flash I've ever watched, back when I've seen episode 6, and then really got invested in the show. And then Season 3 came along, and that's when I actually got all caught up with the show. And then the rest is history. And it's the reason why this show is my childhood, and why I got into the Arrowverse in the first place. I would never be watching Arrow, even if it's gotten bad. Yeah, I'm talking about Season 4, but that's a completely different conversation. I need to stop bringing other shows into this. Earth 2 storyline is incredible. The Reverse Flash reoccurring episodes are incredible. The villain is incredible. And I just have every reason to like this season the most. And just watch my review for it. It has so many good moments. If you've seen this, you'd already know. And this gives me just about everything I want from The Flash, and I see this as a perfect season. Maybe the premiere episode wasn't the best, but that doesn't matter. So, yeah, that's my ranking. Let me know yours in the comments below. Tell me what your thoughts are on my ranking, or what you think I should have put higher or lower because of some of the things I said. Also, comment below, Daddy likes the metal, or Lego, or spam, spam, spam like I do. And more importantly, subscribe, like this video, all of that other stuff. And comment below any other video ideas you got for me. And let me know what you thought of this video overall. Now, I'm just gonna put this all together, edit it, upload it to YouTube, and get ready for bed. Bye.